This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon and welcome to another sunset safari from Djuma. Beautiful clouds in the sky today. It is quite chilly. My name is Byron and on camera with me is David. Yes, I am back. It's great to be back again. And on the other vehicle, James and Sebastian, and then Bushwalk, Steph and Gendre. And we've got Emma in final control this afternoon. So that's very exciting for Emma. Her first role is D1, so this could be a lot of fun. Now don't forget, we are live. Send us your questions and your comments. Hashtag Safari Live is how you do it via Twitter. Otherwise, comment in the YouTube block below the feed and we'll happily answer all your questions for you. Now, as I said, it is quite cloudy this afternoon. Beautiful clouds building. We've had a cold front kind of make its way through South Africa. Now, today is quite chilly up here. It's about 19 degrees Celsius, or about 67 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, I know most of you are saying, well, that's not too cold, but for us, it is very chilly. But we're going to see what we can find this afternoon. I'm going to go in search of leopards. Now, I know Tingana was found this morning. James told me where he was. So we're going to make our way into that area onto Chitwa and see, hopefully we get a wonderful sighting of that male leopard. But, of course, we'll always see what we can find along the way. So that is my plan for the afternoon. And we shall see what the others are up to. But I think let's go across to James now and find out what his plan is. And apparently he's got some feathered friends with him.
Well, my first plan is to say hello to all of you. Hello. Welcome to the sunset safari, where the sun is going to set in about 5 minutes behind an enormous bank of cloud blown in on an unpredicted for cold front. I predicted a warm day today. Alas, we have had a cold day. Blustery it has been. My name is James Henry, and on the camera today, the greatest French Gabonese Air Force pilot in the history of French Gabonese Air Force pilots, Sébastien Rombi. Sitting next to me here, we have Thelma, who is a pain. We're hoping she's going to perform today. And let us now go back to the red-billed buffalo weavers, which are, well, foraging on the ground over there. Please remember to talk to us using the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. Otherwise, you may use the chat stream on YouTube. It would be good to hear from you. As it is good to hear from Byron Schmechter-Serrao. Good to have him back here. Not in need of Schmechter at this stage, which is fantastic news. So hope he stays off the tap water here. If he does, then I've no doubt that situation will persist. Now, these weavers, unusually for weavers, live in their nests all year round, and they live in those huge big apartment blocks built on any kind of upright structure you can find. Often in knobthorn trees, often on radio masts, and they live in these sort of very cheerful communities. They make very nice chirruping, cheerful sounds, and they're looking for grass seeds largely. We had one in camp once. I'm not sure if any of you will remember this, but we had a buffalo weaver chick in camp called Buffy. Once it was rescued by Sam Chevalier, who worked for us briefly, and we rescued Buffy, and it was not a vampire slayer. No, Emma, it wasn't a vampire slayer. It was a buffalo weaver, a young buffalo weaver that had hurt itself, fell out of its nest basically, very high up. And as with all of these things, it ended in tragedy. In fact, poor old Buffy didn't make it through the night. Not sure exactly what was wrong. We tried to feed him or her, and unfortunately a great black ooze came out of her mouth eventually, and she dropped dead. It was very, very sad. And we had a funeral, which was quite fun. As far as funerals go, it was quite fun. Yes. On that somber note, I'm going to hand you over to Steer van Winterboer, who is not in a vehicle anymore. He is now very pleased to be back out on foot.
Yes, I get to walk again, my favorite. Yes, that vehicle thing was a difficult thing for me to do. It's against my nature to be on a vehicle for that length of time, but it was enjoyable. I must be honest with you. Just James and I out on drive was very nice. But you are with myself, Steph Winterboer, on walk, and Genre as well, who's returned to camera. So the two of us are walking again, and looking forward tremendously to this walk. What we're going to be doing is walking from here down to the Mulwati to go and see if we can follow up on where we lost Tundi this morning. We lost Tundi this morning in a very thick block of bush, surrounded by duiker, Nyala, some Impala and some giraffe as well. And I'm hoping that we can go down there and at least give you an update on where she went. During the day, we think we understand why Tundi was walking so fast. Now, if you remember from the sighting this morning, for those of you who are lucky enough to be watching, Tundi looked like she was preoccupied with something. She was walking very, very quickly, and she looked like she was going somewhere. And her tracks made a big loop from Rebecca's Road all the way to Quarantine and then down to the Mulwati and back down south. And now we know why. Now I've forgotten the name of the leopard that comes in from Bushwalk in the north. That is bad. Anyway, there's a leopard, female, that came in from the north of Bushwalk, came down and crossed in at our camp. Tundi obviously came to reassert a boundary, and then, oh, it was Kijima. And then, no, it wasn't, it was a female leopard. And then came just to re-establish the territory boundary, and then went back south again. So she probably was uncomfortable leaving her cub alone for that number of hours, and that's why she was walking so fast. That's what we think happened. Anyway, that's my story for now. Byron's got some elephants on the move, so we're going there.
Well, we have just found some elephants, and I think they're going to appear shortly in front of us. And they're moving through the thicket. I'm hoping they come out so we can have a nice view of them. There's a bit of an opening. Let's see, I think our patience will have to be exercised here. Come on. They've just stopped. But I can see a trunk moving. It's typical. Now the elephants stop walking. We've been following them. They've been moving. We've tried to get a good position to view them. And now they've decided to stop. But let's hang on a few minutes. Perhaps they picked up on our smell. And maybe they're just testing the wind. Let's see. Come on. Apparently, well, while we wait for them, apparently a lot of you are excited to have myself and James on a drive again. Yeah, it's okay. And now I'm excited. It's good to see James again. I haven't seen him for a while, but I do know he's been giving me, or handing out some abuse over the last few days while I've been, well, obviously while I wasn't here. I'd love to give it back to him, but I'm not allowed to. James has pulled rank. He said under no circumstances am I allowed to make him look bad, or he will fire me. So we'll have to do it under the radar, perhaps. But I think he's listening in on just about everything. And so nothing yet, but we'll see what we can do over the next few days. Now, where are these elephants? They're still just standing there. Okay, I see a bit of movement to the left. There they come. There we go. Slowly but surely they're making their way out. It seems like James is doing a lot of birding this afternoon. I think let's just hang on. Here we go. These elephants are moving out. Before we go to James with his bird, but yeah, the elephants are making their way out. There are a few fork-tailed drongos busy following those elephants. And again, the reason they do that, you can see the birds all fluttering behind them, because as the elephants walk, they disturb a lot of insects, and those birds like to grab. So, bit of a symbiotic relationship where animals benefit from each other. Now it is quite windy, and I wonder if that hasn't caused these elephants to move a bit quicker than usual. They were moving really quickly earlier, and they stopped and paused for a brief moment, but now they're moving again. The elephants generally don't like windy conditions too much. I mean, look, they can obviously deal with it, but I've found a lot of the times they tend to move into thickets and stay down there. It's just a small herd. We saw 4 or 5 elephants. There's another one coming through. Isn't that lovely? Always great to start with Ellies. My favorites. It's really, really a lovely start. Beautiful light. You can see the sun glistening on those grey rumps as they make their way through the dry vegetation. We're joking about the winter palettes, but it's beautiful colours at the moment. We always mention it, but you see the beautiful greens, yellows, browns, reddish colours, orange. It is really, really lovely. Now those elephants are moving down. I wonder if they're not moving straight down towards the drainage line. We'll follow the road around. I just need to turn here quickly. Follow the road around and see if perhaps we get another view of them. But with the way they're moving, we might not. They might disappear. But we'll see. Alright, well, it sounds like James is still doing birding. Let's go find out what bird James has found before he gets upset with me again.
Yes, I'm going to get very upset because, of course, I've been sitting with this bird for ages and ages. But thankfully it hasn't flown away. I explained that Byron likes the camera, likes the lens, probably won't link for at least a day, and here we are. That is the African barred owlet. And most impressively about the African barred owlet here is that there are 2 of them. There they are. They are little owls. They're probably only about 8 inches tall. Very angry looking little owls with bright yellow eyes. I'm just checking their size, 21 centimeters. Yes, that's about 8 inches. That's a remarkable guess. So 8 inches tall, 21 centimeters. And what they'll be looking for is a bit of food there. They eat mostly invertebrates. The odd lizard. They have been seen eating something the size of a black-headed oriole, which is certainly at least their own size. And these very special little birds are often heard rather than seen. And their call, I shall play for you, goes something like this. It goes something like this. Come on. Come on. Sorry, everybody. There we go. That is the sound of the African barred owlet, that apparently Byron's elephants are on the move.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm happy James got to see those owls. Maybe they're staying around. Now, just hold on a second. These elephants just moved in front of us. But we might get another good view of them. Hold on as they walk through here. I'm a little jealous. You all know I enjoy finding owls, but James seems to have found some already. There we go. That's a lovely view. That female and youngster. Young elephant, not I suppose, not that young, that one behind this female. Maybe around 4 or 5 years old. Yeah, they've settled down a bit now, not moving as quickly. And again, look at that beautiful light on the elephant. Now, it is a bit windy. I was hoping you could potentially hear them feeding. I'm not sure if you can. But isn't that just beautiful? It's so nice to sit here and enjoy these elephants, just listen to them feeding and observe them for a while. And Josh, you asked what is my favorite memory of James. Josh, I don't have one. There's no favorite memory of James. Although, you know what? Actually, I do have a story about James. This is a great story, and I love it because I kind of got one back for the years of torment James has given me. So, when I started guiding, well, I hadn't even started yet. I was there for my interview, actually, at Londolozi. And James was there, and of course, James being very sporty, he'd organised a touch rugby game. So we decided to, we got a team together, and we played touch rugby, and I played against James. Long story short, James ran across and tried to touch me. It's like tag football. And he came in from the wrong angle, basically, and I ran over James. And he fell, but he kind of tripped me up, and I fell on top of James. But I think he explains it like I rode him like a surfboard on the sand, which was our rugby field. James got up with a few bruises and some scratches. He wasn't too happy, and he just said that this is not good for your first interview. But I said it was a mistake, obviously. But you know what? It may or may not have been. You never let me live that one down, actually. So that would definitely be one of the favorite memories I have of James. Now, these elephants. Now, I think, you know what, I had a look earlier, and I think this is perhaps that female elephant that has the shorter trunk. There's a bit of the tip of the trunk that's missing. I don't know if we can see it. Let's see, but I think this is that female elephant. You can see it's almost actually struggling to feed a little bit there. Is it her? Yeah, it definitely is. The tip of the trunk is missing. So interesting, but it clearly hasn't affected this elephant at all. I'm going to sit here a few more minutes to see if they hang around. But Steph is out on Bushwalk this afternoon. Let's go and find out what his plan is.
Our plan is to give you an update about where Tundi, well, what happened to her after we saw her this morning. We're right where we lost her this morning. So come with me now and I'll show you where the last time is we saw her. Last time I saw Tundi, she was walking on top of that stump there. So she was on top of that stump there, was the last time I saw her. I expected her to walk up here and over, up through this place and over, and we were waiting down here. Come and have a look. We were waiting in that gap just there. But she disappeared here somewhere. The daycare that we were having a look at was right where we are now. And we've got some Impala or something through there. I don't know what it is. Just in the bushes there, we got some Impala. We just got some legs moving. It's about the only thing we can see here. Very difficult to focus on it, of course. But yeah, as the comments just come through, it is really we're really on the bushwalk. We're in the middle of these bushes, and that's what's such a fantastic thing about being where we are. This morning we had to have a reason for coming here. We had to bash through all the places. It was difficult to get the car and it was making a noise. But we can just walk in here and sort of just be. And that's the nice thing. Wow, look, come and look at these leadwoods. Have a look at this grove of leadwoods that we've got here, sticking up out of all the bush. That is actually quite nice. I've never really noticed how many leadwoods we've got growing over here. It's that massive one in the distance, plus all these dead ones that you can see. There are a few other species of trees, of course, knobthorns in particular, that are also dead, but for the most part they're leadwoods, which is quite nice. Nice to see. Right, we're going to carry on searching for footprints of where Tundi went. In the meantime, we're going to send you off to James.
We're sitting here in the most glorious little grove of Tambuti and Combretum herreriense trees. And I say it's glorious because you can hear the wind blowing, but we found this little spot that's totally sheltered and there's some sun shining on it, and these impala discovered it before we did, of course, and they are revelling in the shelter from the wind and the warmth of the winter sun. It's so nice here. While I was waiting for Steph to finish up there, I actually very nearly passed out. It's the kind of little grove that you want to walk into the middle of, not disturb the impala, obviously. You want them to stay exactly where they are, and then you want to sort of lie down in a patch of sun there and watch the blue sky through the waving Tambuti leaves. That sound like a nice thing to do? Yes, Emma, I should perhaps have taken a picnic. I'm not sure that picnics are necessarily the best wildlife viewing, though. But it would have been very lovely to take a picnic. There you can see the deep blue winter sky. And, of course, you can see the wind from this cold front, which I thought was done, but obviously isn't. Yes, Paula, it is amazingly blue, and this is what happens in the winter. You won't find a summer sky like that normally. Normally the summer sky at this time of the year is white. It's so hot. But in summer we get, at least in winter, we get these beautiful, dreamy, deep blue skies. The impala are just waiting here, I think precisely for the same reason that we are. Obviously there's a bit for them to eat here. And I can't see exactly what they are eating, but I wonder if they're not picking up dry Tambuti leaves. But they're enjoying the fact that there is no wind, which means A, they're not getting cold, B, they're warm in the sun, and C, they can perhaps hear or see anything coming out of the thickets surrounding this grove. And so it's quite a nice safe haven for them to be in. Yeah, bits of dry grass they're eating. One or two looked like they were eating Tambuti trees. Doesn't it look peaceful? Yeah, Karen, I wouldn't go quite that far. You say you love winter. It's not my favourite. I don't mind it in the Lowveld, though. You know, it's very hot here in the summer, and the middle of the day in the winter is normally very pleasant indeed. There's something about the new life of the rainy season, though, that's just it's just too special. But I guess it's only special because of the winter time beforehand and the rejuvenation of life that comes with the rain, because it does get very brown and dry here and very bleak in some respects before the first rains. And then when the first rains come, or the spring comes, the smells of the flowers, the building up of the thunderheads, and of course the explosion of new life with the leaves, the fruits, and of course the new baby impalas. That's my favourite time of the year. But you know, there isn't a bad time of the year in the Lowveld of South Africa. It really is always very gorgeous. Alrighty, I think that's enough of impala bottoms in the Tambuti Grove. Let us continue on our way. I nearly passed out like this. So comfortable. Anyway, now we are coming out into the wind, and I shall wait. There we go. I'm awake again. Hello Impalas, there's a really nice little grove down there. If you walk down there, very pleasant. have a snooze. Herbert has indicated that he thinks that Tlalamba is around here somewhere. He came tracking in between drives today, and he thinks that Tlalamba was around here somewhere, so that's what we're doing. We're sort of half working in tandem with them. There's a certain amount of expectation about a day like this, with the sun coming up and the clouds rolling overhead. Not sure why that should be. Sebastian came out and said that he had a very good feeling about today's drive. Not so, Seb? Yes. Still, does it remain with you?
Yeah, we started with some nice owls.
And we started with some nice owls, he says, which of course is very true, and that's a very good start. We will have to continue the saga of Scuba Steve and Sarah. Tina, interestingly, wild horses, of course, horses come from Asia. The only living relative, we think, of the first original wild horse is something called a Przewalski's horse. Now, I learned that when I was about 10, so I'm not sure if it's in fact true. But I think it is, the Przewalski's horse, which I think occurs on the steppes of Asia. And probably most closely domesticated versions are the ones that the Mongols ride in Mongolia, and they hunt with the eagles on their arms. It's sort of small, stocky ponies that eventually were the ancestors of all horses. There are no wild horses native to Africa or any other continent other than Asia, but of course they have been spread by human beings. There are a number of wild equids elsewhere around the world, or certainly in Africa. We have all the zebras here, and then we have something called a wild ass. Should have been called a wild ass. I know many wild asses myself, but not of the animal variety. There's a wild ass somewhere up in Ethiopia. No horse native or equid native to South America, and so no, there are no wild horses here, but there are herds of feral horses that occur in various parts of southern Africa, most famously in Namibia. We think that the herd comes from a group of abandoned horses, horses abandoned in the wake of the end of the First World War, when the Germans that were living there, they lost the war obviously, and they abandoned their horses when they went home, and they went out into the desert and somehow managed to survive and have become a herd of wild horses. So that's in Namibia. And then I heard of another group. Just a few days ago I read about one. Alright, we're getting some bad signal breakup. Let's go back over to Steph and the Bushwalk.
This has to be one of my favorite places in the whole of Djuma. It's a little grove of Tambuti trees, and we quite often come here on Bushwalk. And it is a place where in summertime elephants enjoy spending the heat of the day in the shade, and Tambutis are toxic, and because of that, when there's a bit of wind around and the leaves get bruised and start exuding a milky sap, actually quite good insect repellents. And so there's a few less parasites underneath these groves than there would be at other times. And you can just see, let's just show you in this grove how much more elephant dung is on the floor once you've had a look at the leaf cover. Have a look at all the elephant dung that's lying between the bits and pieces of wood, specifically close to this old tree here in front of us. You can notice that all of this is elephant dung, here and there and here, and all of this here. There is plenty right there, all here and all around the tree. And if you come closer, you're going to see something else unique to this, is that elephant use the tree as a rubbing post. So what they'll do is they'll come and while they're busy resting, they'll use these protuberances on the tree to scrape and scratch themselves, and it just really is quite nice. Come and have a look at this fly that we've got here. I think that he's just flown off. Thought that he had been infected with that fungus that eats their head. Come look here, here's one that the elephants can fit right underneath. And because it's a hardwood tree, have a look here. Because it's a hardwood tree, they wouldn't be able to break it, so they could get a deep scratch going. And just have a look at how shiny this wood is here, from the elephants squashing themselves underneath and then rubbing the tree bark completely smooth. Just a perfect place for them. It just so happens, if I were to be camping in this place, this is exactly where I would want to camp, is inside this grove of trees. Not only are you going to be sharing it with a lot of animals, but it's flat. You'd be able to make a bed out of some of this elephant dung, obviously not in the mounds, but you'd be able to break it apart and give yourself a fairly soft mattress. I think before I leave here, I really want to do that. Ooh. Puma, you've asked me a nice question, and one that is so important. Is elephant dung an important compost for trees? Absolutely. By design, elephants are bulk grazers, and so a lot of what they eat goes in exactly the same as what it comes out, including seeds. Now, this has been mined by termites, and then subsequently there's been a bit of an ant war here. You can see the carcasses of these ants over here. So there's been a bit of a fight between probably the termites and the ants, and those are some leftover remnants. But you can just see in profile that a lot of the seeds would fit inside there. And what happens is the seeds germinate inside this very wet, humid bolus of basically compost, and this will blow around and fall into depressions and collect in depressions, and then those seeds have got all the food that they need. So very, very important as a composter. So it's just part of the nutrient cycle out here. Trees turn into dung, which in turn nurses new trees, which in turn grow, need to be managed by the elephant and go down. And so absolutely very, very important. Now there's a comment the other day that said that James always feels that he feels sorry for the termites in all of these interactions. They seem to be eaten by almost everything. And I must say, I do agree with him. It's one of the reasons, not totally the reason why they build the mounds, but one of the reasons why they've moved underground is to escape this predation. And it's funny that they haven't evolved a more elaborate defense mechanism, but you know, that's just the wonder of Mother Nature, and the fact that she keeps this wondrous food source available to those that just with a little bit of effort or a little bit of ingenuity can access it. And so yeah, just one of those things, again, these interconnected... Watch out, there's a thorn bush behind you, Mr. Genre. Have a look what he was about to go and reverse into. I was deciding whether I'd leave it or not and let him just reverse that, but he's such a nice guy. And I wasn't going to do that to him. Not on his first walk back. Let's go and have a look. Raj, you'd like to know if a tree without its bark, if it stops growing. Let me show you something, Raj. We just so happen to have an example of it right here. So Raj, looking at this part of the tree here, this is the heartwood. Well, not the heartwood sits in front of you, but inside there, but this is the wood of the tree. This does nothing except support the tree and enable it to reach through the canopy and get to sunlight. It's the skeleton of the tree. This here is the cambium layer, and inside there are all the transport vessels from the roots to the leaves and from the leaves to the roots. This is the blood vessels and the meat of the tree. And then on the outside is the bark. Now the bark is there specifically to protect the tree, very similar to our skin. It helps with fungal infections and keeps off parasites, and the tree sheds the bark. The tree can shed the bark off either from the inside out, or it peels it, or it sloughs it off, but you can see here, and it's necessary for the tree to lose bark and for the bark to be rubbed off so that seeds of parasitic plants and fungus fall off. So to answer your question, Raj, the tree can actually lose the bark, but it can't lose the transport vessels. If it loses its blood vessels, it's the same as cutting the tree's throat. If the blood vessels are cut off all the way around the tree, then it can't transport the nutrients and the tree will die. That's how they ring bark a tree. And that is, I think, where the where the confusion comes in. When you ring bark a tree, you have to cut through the bark, through this cambium layer to the wood, and you have to do it all the way around the tree. When you do that, then you'll kill the tree. Let me show you one tree that's been ring barked by elephant. We've just passed it now. So elephant pry off the bark of a tree with their tusks to get to the cambium layer, because that's where all the nutrients is. And what they do is they can completely encircle a tree. That's what they've done to this knobthorn here. But over generations, you can see that this is an old wound. This was the old wound. The tree then thickened to make up for the lost blood vessels. The elephant came and debarked it again, and this time the elephant went all the way around the tree and basically cuts off its flow of nutrients, and the tree then died. And that's why we have this dead tree right here. The elephant ring barked the tree. But it'll only happen if this cambium layer is taken off all the way around. And that's what's happened to this tree. Nice, eh? I hope that explains it there, Raj. But it's a good thing that that happens, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to move here. There'd be too many, lots of trees. Now, Anna Marie, you'd like to know if the cambium layer is as nutritious as the leaves. Let me think of that, Anna Marie. I don't think so. I think the leaves have a fair amount of nutrition in them. They're more leaves, of course, and so you can get a bigger tummy full than bark, and they're also easier to eat than the bark. So the impression would be that the leaves are more nutritious, but I just think that there's more volume and for less effort. And so for a bulk grazer, that makes all the difference. The most nutritious part of the tree are the roots, plus the inner bark. I'm just thinking about a study that I did, and traditional healers, what they used to collect. And they used to first go for the roots, then go for the bark, then go for the leaves, if nothing else. And so that is the nutrient gradient, if I were to give you my impression of that. But by far and wide, grass is a lot more nutritious for elephants, for bulk grazers. And that's why as soon as the grass starts growing again, elephants switch from leaves and roots and bark all the way back to grass. And so, yeah, much better. All right, why don't we go and have a look at what James is doing, although I believe he's just on a bumble.
One second, everybody. Byron doesn't know how to use his radio. You use Eastern channel, so just flick through the channels till you hit Eastern channel. Copy. There we are. Just a little bit of teaching. The old man still teaching the student. It's always nice to add value to young people. We turned around from where we last saw you, and then we came up Hyena Road, which is meaningless to many. It is sort of mid-north, and basically where Herbie wanted me to check for Chalama. She wasn't there. Now we're heading towards Beefelshoek Waterhole, where we'll see what's happening. No doubt the world's most boring hippopotamus will be there. We'll find out how his 5th day of dating is going, if it is in fact going, or if she's managed to leave him yet. They were showing certainly a lot of affection yesterday for each other. Well, she was showing for him. He was doing precisely what he normally does. Scottish, the most exciting thing I've seen, there are so many things. It's like me asking you basically what's the best meal you ever ate, and unless it was utterly astounding, maybe you can answer that question. I couldn't answer that question. So you could probably tell me about lots of great meals that you've had, but not necessarily the best one. I think though, in my time at Safari Live, there have been 3 or 4 experiences on foot that have really been highlights for me. 2 leopard cubs on foot incidences, and wild dogs on foot, always a huge highlight. Right, it is very windy here for some reason. Oh, look. Dived under the water when we arrived. Such a fright. Ah! Hello, chaps. What were you doing when we arrived, eh? Hey? Why are you looking so sheepish? Look at you. Oh, Scuba, they nearly caught us.
What do you mean they nearly caught us?
Well, they nearly saw us.
Saw us doing what?
Well, I was snuggling up to you.
Oh, were you? I thought that's what you normally did. I'm going underwater now. I'm feeling very embarrassed.
Oh, I wish they'd go away. I'm also going under the water now. How are we going to have some privacy?
We'll have to breathe at some stage.
Well, they're still here, Scuba. Stay underwater.
Are they still there?
Yes. Voyeurs they are, beastly voyeurs. They want to see us. They won't leave us alone, fascinated by our love life. Oh, they're still there. I can't believe it.
Oh, so they are. Wish they'd go away. I suppose I could try and chase them, but I don't know, it's a bit too much effort.
Just chase them away, Scuba. Chase them. You're an enormous fellow.
No, I can't do that. I'm going to go back under.
Oh, no. Still they remain. Let's wait for them to go away, Scooby. Quite like it under the water here with you. It's quite cosy, isn't it?
It is quite.
And that was episode 3 of Scuba Steve. What did Kimberly call her? Someone Sarah? Snuggle Sarah. I think they're going under the water actually because it's so windy over here. It really is a fairly obnoxious movement of air. Ugh. Go away! Right, we still have the 2 worst parents in the world. We'll have one last look at them and then we'll move on from here. Oh, shame. Ah, look. Now look, this is very interesting. See, they're standing on one foot. The other foot's tucked up underneath the feathers. And in the case of the one on the right, her face tucked under her wing. Now this is clearly a response to the cold and the wind. So no part of her skin other than the one leg is exposed to the wind, and she'll probably swap it from time to time. Willow Wanderer, you say all your favourite guides on drive. Well, goodness gracious, I wouldn't tell Steve, Tristan, Taylor, Ralph, Jamie, Brent or Scott about that, but I'm very pleased indeed that all 3 of us feature highly on your list of favourite guides. Byron Sarau is probably my favourite guide. That's sarcasm in case you didn't pick it up. Good. Okay, let's continue from here. Not much happening. I do want to check this block in front of us with the thermal drone. Is this wind flyable? But too strong for now.
A bit strong, eh?
Okay.
It's gusty though.
Yeah.
It's up and down.
Alright, we'll carry on for now, and if the wind drops we'll have a look with the drone. I'm sorry, Minamu, I missed your question because I was talking to the greatest French Gabonese Air Force pilot. You could have it again, please, Emma. Emma Openshaw, yes, that really is her name, is on director today. It's her first solo drive. Minamu, yes, we do from time to time get frustrated if we don't find predators. It can be frustrating, especially if you think that you're on the tracks and you're doing well and you're going to find them. Then it can be very frustrating indeed if you come up with nothing. Normally the frustration comes on these drives, for me anyway. I mean, I have long accepted that my tracking skills are, well, they're okay, but because I'm not a dedicated tracker, they're probably not going to get a huge amount better. And so I've accepted that I will not always be able to track a leopard unless it happens to be leaving a pretty obvious trail. But it gets frustrating if you then don't find anything on that drive. But otherwise, no. I don't find it hugely frustrating. It's tremendously satisfying just to be out here, It really is. It is very blustery, however, and that does not bode well for the finding of anything. It's foul. This is the last place that Tlalamba was seen. Oh, hooray! Baron has managed to learn how to use his radio, and he's managed also to find the scavenging duke.
James, we have found Tingana, yes, and a beautiful sighting of him up in the tree resting on the branches. We did not use our radio, James. It did not work, and that's why I had to ask you if the channel still worked. I wonder if James told you about his touch rugby incident. Now, I was trying to make out what this leopard is feeding on. It is a bit difficult. Oh, right, okay. So James mentioned now that Tingana actually managed to scavenge this bushbuck. And it's quite hidden. It's basically that clump directly behind him through there. Yeah, there it is. And it's in there somewhere. And he scavenged it from 2 wild dogs. That's amazing. Because he must have moved quite quickly and to chase the wild dogs off. But I think now usually, because if it's a big pack, if it's a large pack of dogs, then it's unlikely a leopard would chase them off of a kill. But maybe 2, possibly a lot easier. I love 3 dogs. He said he looks stuffed. He does. Okay, so as I'm speaking, I'm getting more and more updates about this, about Tingana and what happened. So apparently the wild dogs killed the bushbuck. They didn't actually feed on it for very long. They left it and moved off, and Tingana came in very opportunistic and grabbed the bushbuck and hoisted it up into the tree. Now, that's very clever, because he would keep the kill out of reach of those wild dogs if they came back, and also out of reach of other scavengers, like it's a paw over there, which I think is a hyena. Now, I think, shall we quickly move around and see if I can get a better view for you? Let's just see. I'm just going to move forward here quickly. Don't want to disturb. Just hold on, let's just see what it is. It's definitely a hyena, and you might get a glimpse through there now, Dave. There we go. It's just a hyena hiding in the back there. But you know what? I'm going to stay in the position I was in. I'm going to reverse a little bit. The reason is we've got such a lovely view of Tingana up in that tree. And I'm sure some other vehicles would like to join and see this leopard, so let's not lose our position. This is definitely the best spot right here for us to see him up in the tree. So, just as I was saying, hyenas would potentially come and try and scavenge a kill. The wild dog, making a kill, they make a lot of noise, and they do attract attention. And if hyena come in, they can also scavenge the kill, but unfortunately this male managed to get the kill up into the tree very quickly before the hyena managed to steal it or scavenge it. But yes, this Tingana does look very, very full. Philip, I must be honest, I don't think it's much harder for them. Yes, they're a bit heavier, but they are so powerful. They really, really are powerful. And they do still have an amazing ability to climb, even with a full belly. I've seen leopards up and down trees with full bellies, even carrying their kills and hoisting them up into a tree, obviously with a full belly. So just shows you how powerful they can be. And I think, with a full belly, it doesn't make too much of a difference for them. And you can see even now, Tingana is happy to lie up in the tree, and his belly's balancing on the branches. Actually a beautiful spot there. It's actually really nice down in the drainage line. We're out of the wind a little bit. DG, you curious as to why he is breathing so hard? Well, it's what we've just been speaking about. It's because of that full belly. Have a look. There we go. Now, look how agile he is. You see? Just stood straight up. I wonder if he's going to try and feed on that kill now. Let's see. Now, it is nice and cool, so he'd potentially be a lot more active. He could also just look for another more comfortable position. Maybe that full belly is causing a bit of discomfort. It's not that comfortable lying on those thin branches. So DG, that heavy breathing is when these big cats, lions and leopards, when they do feed on any carcasses, they do get very, very full and they pant because it's a little bit harder for them to breathe properly. So with full bellies, you do see them panting heavily. Oh, isn't this great? Look at that balance. I mean, the tree is moving slightly in the wind. But to see a big male leopard right up in a tree like this is phenomenal. Paula, you say you would fall out of a tree if you tried this. You do need to keep your balance. Speaking of falling out of a tree, you can ask James. He's done it a few times. See, just changing positions, trying to get into a more comfortable spot. Possibly going to try and feed a little bit. Let's see. The fish eagles are calling in the dam behind us. We're not far from Chitwa Dam. See, I can't make out if he's trying to feed or if he's just trying to get into a comfortable position. Looks like he's up in a russet bush willow, and the branches aren't particularly thick. It's easy to balance a kill. Look at that, that's a beautiful view of him. Easy to balance the kill in those branches, but for the leopard to balance, it's not that easy. You can actually see the pods on that russet bush willow in front of his face there. That is beautiful. And you see he's happy to stay up in the tree out of out of the way of the hyena, I suppose, even though the hyena wouldn't pose a direct threat to him, but just so that he doesn't have to worry about the hyena disturbing him. And he's also probably cautious of giving up his kill, even though hyena can't get up there. He doesn't want to take any chances with it falling out, perhaps. And Gemma, you asked if lions and leopards enjoy this type of weather. Most definitely. I think all the predators do. This cooler weather makes it a little bit nicer and more comfortable for them to move around. We've seen lions hunting during the day, leopards hunt during the day. They move for longer periods of time in the mornings and in the early evenings or late afternoons because it's much cooler, so they don't use up as much energy as they do in the heat. And that heat can be quite sapping of energy, I suppose. Oh, wow, what a great start to getting back here. I mean, elephants and leopards, not a bad start to my first sunset safari back. Hope all of you are enjoying it just as much. You might be able to hear that wind. It's actually being channeled down this dry riverbed that we're in at the moment. You can see the branches moving there, but it doesn't seem to be bothering the leopard. He's still quite happy right up in the branches. Alright, I'm going to sit here a little bit longer. Let's go across to Steph, find out how his bushwalk is doing.
One of the most epic things about winter and the times like we are now is the sky. Byron was mentioning a little bit earlier about how blue the skies are in early winter. And although we've got a bit of cloud coming over now, just have a look at the sky. The color of the sky is just something unbelievable. And worthy of taking a screenshot of. It's just a nice color of it, especially considering this massive dead leadwood that we're having a look at the sky through at the moment. This is the largest leadwood on Djuma and one of the largest leadwoods I've ever seen in my life. Unfortunately, it is dead, but you know, you can honor this thing as well. Now, Rosh, you'd like to know how we age trees. Rosh, a tree like this you'd actually drill into and you take a core sample of. So you drill a hole through and you take a core sample of it and you'd count the growth rings. Every ring that you find inside here will be a year, one season. But as you get closer, a really big tree like this, as you get closer to the center, because the tree's so old, those growth rings are going to become either compacted or you won't be able to see them. And then we use a carbon-14 dating method. It's a scientific or chemical method. It's the breakdown of some element. I'm wanting to say carbon-14, but I don't really know exactly how it works. But basically, because the breakdown of this particular element happens at such a steady and predictable rate, they can tell the age of something up to a point. They can't tell massive ages, but I mean, they can be really accurate with it by analyzing the chemistry of this tree. So that would be the most certain way of aging it, but you can just use the growth rings and it will give you an approximation. This tree is probably close on 1,000 years old. They grow very, very old, and this is one of the largest ones that I've ever seen. And so this tree was ancient before ancient was, and depending on the book you read, they'll stand like this for anywhere from 50 to 100 years or so, because they're so dense. They are completely termite resistant. The wood is so dense, in fact, that a block of this wood does not float in water. You can take a piece of this wood and drop it into a glass of water. It'll sink straight down to the bottom, whereas a piece of marula or pine or any other wood, in fact, out here, with the exception of 2 or 3, just floats on top of the water. And that is absolutely why it explains the name Leadwood, Jen. So, and also because it's of this color. It also looks like aged lead. And I've seen people trying to cut this with an axe, and not this particular tree, but leadwood, with an axe and a chainsaw. And if you just strike it a little bit off dead center, sparks spray out of the axe. This tree is is actually capable of chipping pieces of steel off of a steel axe with a careless axe stroke. Amazing, hey? I like this Leadwood. I like visiting it. I like the area it grows in. I like this place. And just one of those trees that I'll remember for a very, very long time. Can you imagine the stories that this guy's got to tell? Very, very cool. Some weather system is blowing in here. We just got a column of clouds coming in from the south. What would it be? The southwest. And you can see that they are quite heavy. Now, we've just had a cold front come over, and usually this time of the year, clouds are associated to cold fronts in a phenomenon called frontal lift. And warm, moist air is lifted suddenly upwards over cold, dense air. And as the cold front comes in over the land, so basically the cold front will be warm and dense and would come in over the land, and the warm air that's here gets shifted up and over the cold front. And as that happens, it condenses and forms clouds, and can even rain. We can even get rain associated to this. And I wonder if we haven't got a second cold front. They come in families, and it's actually called that. It's a a family of fronts, and you get 2, 3, or 5 that come over the country one after another. And especially after we've had such a big one recently over the last 2 or 3 days, it's not uncommon to have another one right on its heels. And we'll have a few of these sets come over the next couple of weeks, and then by around about the 10th to the 20th of August, we've already got the knobthorns flowering again, and it's springtime. And yeah. Now, Ludmilla, you'd like to know, what do I know about trees communicating amongst themselves? I only know of a couple of examples, but the most prominent one that comes to mind is how acacia trees are able to communicate with one another downwind when their leaves are being fed on by a giraffe, or by anything, by kudu for that matter of fact. So what happens is, an acacia tree, as it's being fed upon, as its leaves are being fed upon, its leaves will actually increase in tannin, which makes them unpleasant to eat, or they don't make them very tasty. And the giraffe will move from this tree onto the next one. Now, if the giraffe is feeding with its nose, feeding with the wind, for instance, all the trees downwind of that acacia tree will also pick up their tannin levels, even though they are not being fed upon. And that is because the tree, for some reason, is able to give off a pheromone that other trees are receptive to and react to, and will increase their tannin in their leaves, and therefore make themselves unpleasant to taste. The giraffe has to then walk to a different area and start feeding on a different set of trees. Isn't that amazing? Now, the other communication that amongst trees that I know is through their mycorrhiza, which a lot of trees have a lot of trees have associations with fungus. These fungal colonies are not only restricted to a specific species of tree, but also can be present in other trees as well. And one tree can communicate with another tree through its fungus garden. And in some cases, one single fungus can spread over many acres. In fact, and I stand to be corrected, and I'd love to hear your feedback on this, I think that the largest living organism, plant-wise at least anyway, is a fungus. I'm not sure where it is, but it covers many hundreds of square acres, and is one single fungus that is spread through this forest. I can't remember where I heard that, but it's definitely chiming something in my memory banks there. So over the course of the walk, if you can find any reference to this massive fungus in this grove of trees, please feel free to forward it to me, and I'll be able to share it with everybody. All right, why don't we go and have a look at James, who is apparently moving as fast as what these trees communicate with one another.
We're trying to move as fast as the fungus. Herbert had some alarm calls around here. Now, we drove up Hyena Road earlier. We didn't find anything, and we're just now looking for the alarms. The thing is that it's so windy that it's going to be very difficult for Herbert to pinpoint exactly where the alarm calls were. Is that a leopard on the top of the termite mound there? Let me check out my powerful binoculars. Have a look-see. No, nothing on that particular termite mound. Let's keep going very slowly up here. And we didn't see any impala around here when we came up. That's not to mean, or not to say there shouldn't be some inside the block here. If we see them, we might just do a little foray off-road. They've stopped calling now. And this is where Herbert predicted she'd be. Is that a different termite mound, or the same termite mound with the same leopard-shaped top to it?
We'll double check again.
No, it's not. It's a leopard-shaped piece of muck on top of the termite mound. I wonder if she's managed to catch something just in here. Tanis, they might move a kill from one tree to the other if they felt the tree was too exposed or something else might get up it. But I don't know that I've ever seen them do it. They might drop it on the floor and then take it up another one by mistake. You know, no, they won't take it up by mistake, but they may drop it on the ground by mistake and then take it up another tree. Termite mounds always good to check on top of. Let's just check that termite mound there. Don't see anything there, and you can hear the wind pounding through the tops of the trees here. It gets very difficult to figure out what on earth is going down in this area. Well, something is going down in this area. Who knows what it is? Go a little bit further up, and then we're going to turn around and come back down the way. Alright, well, we won't waste time looking for a cat in the tree when Byron already has a cat in a tree.
Well, James, you never know. You could potentially find one too. Now, we're still sitting with Tingana. He's up in the tree. Change positions a little bit. It's a bit tricky to view him. A few branches in front of him, but and also just you can see how well hidden he is. Camouflage obviously helps a bit. It doesn't look like he's interested in moving anytime soon. Now, I was just thinking this is a perfect little spot for him because he can feed on that kill, and as soon as he's finished, or when he feels like, he'll climb down and he can move to Chitwa Dam and go and have a drink. It's not too far from here. And often the big cats do want water after they've had a drink, or after they've had a meal, because the kills can be quite salty. The blood and that they feed on, the meat, can be quite salty, so they tend to go and look for water very soon after they've fed on a kill. Sorry, Emma. Emma just read a question. Robin, your question is, would these cats ever eat plant matter? However, Emma first read it as, would any of these cats eat a meat platter? Yes, they would eat a meat platter, Emma, but Robin, plant matter, I've seen big cats go and eat grass from time to time. Apparently it aids with digestion and perhaps to help them get rid of fur balls and stuff like that if they need to regurgitate anything. But I have seen them feeding on grass and plant material. But it's not. It doesn't happen very often, and it's not for food. I mean, they are carnivores. They would feed mainly on meat. So, well, I suppose, yeah, a meat platter. Nice to see just how he changes position, and he doesn't look too comfortable, but I mean, I don't know. How do we really know, I suppose? I can see those branches moving in the wind a little bit, and every now and then having to change those paws and legs. Both legs hanging off the branches there. I must be honest, I've been very fortunate. I've had some wonderful sightings of Tingana up in trees. Laying down, there was, I think it was about a year, maybe longer than that. We saw Tingana, followed him for a while, and went and jumped up into a huge jackalberry. Now this was on Arathusa, I think. Climbed up into a jackalberry, and we got to see him lying up there for a while. I always love seeing a leopard up in one of those trees. Jackalberry is one of my favorite trees. I think just that dark bark with the leopard lying up, and they're very big trees, so large, thick branches for him to lie on, perfect for a leopard. And normally beautiful deep green color to them, so the contrast in color in that is wonderful. And so, cat, if a leopard had to fall out of a tree, would it land on its feet? Yeah, most likely. And I've seen leopards fall out of trees before, mostly when they're playing, and they do tend to fall on their feet. But it's not. Yeah, it's not. I think, if he just had to, if that branch had to break and fall, I'm sure he'll right himself quite quickly and try and land on his feet as quickly as possible. I suppose it goes that old saying that a cat always lands on its feet, so possibly. But we've also seen and heard of leopards falling out of trees when they are fighting, and they injure themselves so badly that they die from it. Not many birds calling at the moment. I'm just looking around and listening. I think also with these windy conditions, birds aren't as active. It is actually really chilly this afternoon. That cold front has definitely come up into this part of South Africa too. I mean, I was still here a week ago and it wasn't nearly as cold as it is now. I think what I might do, sorry Dave, I'm going to try and move forward a little bit for us, just to try and get a better view of the body. Hold on a second. Alright, well, while I reposition, apparently Commander Bond is flying the drone. Let's go find out what he's doing.
Well, I'm not flying it. Sebastian Rombi is flying it. We're over the block where Steph and Herbert and Jean-Bray are looking for Tundi the leopard. We saw them with the drone a little while ago, but they seem to be hiding under a bush somewhere. We had immediate sight of them as soon as we took off. We'll just keep filtering around here. We might see them again. Anyway, there are lots of antelope. You can see plenty of antelope in there. None of them look like they're being eaten by a leopard. So we'll just keep going over this direction. We're flying high up so as not to distract the bushwalkers. They'll be able to hear the drone, but they'll be much closer to the hearing on the ground. Sorry, I'm concentrating on 2 or 3 things at once. You know, it's very difficult being a man trying to multitask. There are the Impala in the grove that we saw earlier today. So that's basically that Tambuti grove that we watched them in earlier today. So I think we're going to turn to the right now, to the north, and we'll investigate along the valley of that little river there. There we go. So those Impala, one of those herds of Impala must have been the ones that Herbert heard alarm calling. But you'd expect that if there was a leopard moving here, we'd see it pretty easily. Except if it was under a bush. Because the bushes really do shield heat signatures quite nicely. There we go. So all those trees, all very thick. It does look like lava, yes. Right, what do we got there? What is that? Right-hand quadrant in our center screen. It looks like a termite mound, doesn't it? We found many termite mounds. We're excellent termite mound finders, Sebastian and I. Come on, let's make this thing pale. And underneath that, nothing. Okay, let's swing a little bit further to the right. So I know this isn't the best picture in the world, but it is fascinating to see. And if we find... Oh, there we go. There she is. Go ahead. Straight ahead. That's obviously I'm being wildly optimistic. That thing there, yes. I thought it moved. Is it? It's a log, yes. It's not her. It's not her at all. Wildly optimistic. Yes, that's called confirmation bias, everybody. Let's turn to the right again. Let's vector somebody into the log, says Emma. Yeah, I think that's also a log, I'm afraid. The best part of this is that the technology is finally working beautifully. Jeremiah, you say they create a lot of heat, the termite mounds. That they do. There are animals. Those must be animals, surely. There we are. And then quite a substantial loop through this block. No luck yet. Let's fly again in that direction there. See if we can pick up the bushwalk. There's... Stop there. Is that bushwalk? Yeah. No. What about that hot spot on the termite mound there? Let's try that. Do you think it's just a hot piece of the termite mound? Unless it's bushwalk. I think that's bushwalk standing on that termite mound there. Are they on a termite mound, Em? Are they not on that termite mound? All right. Well, Can we... that termite mound might be worth looking at. Again. Maybe just do a little loop around it. Well, that is interesting. I wonder what that is.
On the side of it or on top of it?
On top of it, it's just so hot. It's like a little volcano, yeah. No, nothing moving. Paula, no, it's definitely not an elephant. What's that there? That's the antelope we've been looking at. Oh, how disappointing. I was convinced we were going to find a leopard immediately. Had no trouble at all. Those two? No. Pigs. Water pigs. I'm interested that we haven't seen the bushwalk again, and I suspect it's because they're under trees, and the more and more I do this, the more I realize how easy it is for animals to hide if they happen to be under trees. What are those things? Hyenas, you think, maybe?
Fellas are right there looking at them.
It's very interesting. I don't think they're attacking. They look like... looks a little bit like a computer game, doesn't it? They're certainly... either they're invisible hyenas. No. Something going on there.
Yeah. These are predators.
Those are predators. I think you're right. I think they're hyenas.
Yeah.
Seb, where are we in relation to this? Do you know? I wonder if we shouldn't drive there.
We are,
Can you see
we
it?
are south of it. Sorry. I was looking at those.
We are south of it.
Yeah.
So it's north of us.
You can see the drone from here.
Let's go across the bushwalk and we'll go and figure out what's going on there. Go to the map.
I don't know if it's loaded. I haven't loaded the map.
I think we should drive straight in there.
I'm trying to play a bit of a cat and mouse game to see if he can find us. Because if James can find the three of us, then he can find an elusive leopard. Now, we're in the area where Herbie heard the kudu making an alarm call. And we've got some Impala bouncing around over here, looking a little bit nervous. And we've got a Nyala here. Come and have a look. See if we can find him still. No, he's moved off. But let's show you the drone while we're at it. The drone is there. So at the moment we've walked a full circle around the drone. And it's surprisingly quiet, I must be honest with you. I know the wind is blowing from us to the drone, and so it is having an effect on the noise being carried, but when it's gusting, it's virtually silent, which is quite nice actually. I don't know what they're hovering about over there, but we're going to carry on. We're going to carry on trying to sneak around over here. Let's see if we can go and see this Nyala. It was quite a nice bull actually. You know, we were just marveling at how much grass is actually still available, which is quite nice. No. Eloise, have I ever stumbled upon an elephant lying down? No, not on Bushwalk. But what we did see in, I can't even remember now, it must have been February, when we did our bench series, one of the last shows that we did see an elephant lie down on top of a termite mound while we were live with it. So the elephants didn't even know we were there, and they were having a bit of a wrestle with one another, and next thing, this elephant flopped down on its side on top of a termite mine and had like, I don't know, he was just having a relax. So I have seen an elephant lie down on bushwalk, but I haven't bumped into one sleeping. Not that my memory serves me. One's bumped into me sleeping before. I had a rest once with a group of people underneath a tree. It was midday and we were lying spread-eagled in the shade of a tree in a riverbed. And I heard this little noise, and when I opened up my eye, this massive bull elephant was basically standing over us, having a look at what these people were doing, sleeping in his riverbed. I got such a fright that I sort of jumped up and went, hey, and this big elephant sort of did a loop and then realized, but hang on, I don't need to be running away from these people, they need to be running away from me, and came running back again, at which point we had this bit of a Mexican standoff, and then we decided that, you know, it's just better that for both of us we just create some distance, and we ended up walking away, leaving each other alone. It was quite scary waking up with this elephant like right over me. Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's see where this, we've got a vehicle approaching here. I wonder if there's a sighting. Must be James. I don't know what's going on over here. You know, when you're on a bushwalk out here, you don't really know what's going on with the greater guiding community, and there could very well be a cheetah sighting or wild dogs or leopard or lion or whatever coming into this area, and you wouldn't really know it until they bumped into you. And so, you know, we'll just keep our eye open. Walk in the other direction. So James thinks he's got hyenas. There's James. Should we sneak up on James and give him a fright? I think so. Let's go and do that. Let's go and see if we can give James a fright. He's picked the thickest block to drive through. Let's be honest. Alright, while we sneak up on James and see if we can give him a hand finding whatever he is looking at, you know, is a thick block. Why don't we send you over to Byron and see what he's up to.
Are we still sitting with this beautiful leopard? I hope James and Steph have a bit of luck this afternoon. We really are lucky sitting with Tingana. He hasn't moved too much. He seems very, very comfortable. Snoozing up in the tree. Every now and then he adjusts his legs and turns his head the other way. But we've got a nice view of him now. He hasn't fed again on any of that carcass, which is interesting. I suppose he possibly fed quite a bit this morning, and even during the course of the day. It was really cool, and we were speaking about that earlier. Oh, look at that. There's a bit of light coming through just on his forehead. See that? A little bit of golden light. So we were speaking about it earlier. Now in the cooler temperatures, he probably a lot more active than he usually is. And also, I mean, that branch is fairly exposed. If it was summer, I don't know, although there is a nice breeze, so if it was in the height of summer, I think he'd potentially prefer lying on the ground, out of the sun. But it is cloudy today, it's windy, it's a bit cold, so he's happy up there. Gemma, you say you love Tingana's face. He's got I suppose that face tells a lot of stories, doesn't it, Gemma? I mean, if you look at the scarring around his nose and eyes and the ears and This leopard has lived an interesting life, I'm sure. You can see some of those scratches very clearly. Look at him swaying in the wind. Almost rocking him to sleep. But if you think of all these predators and the encounters they have with each other and the fights, and we see a portion of what actually goes on in these animals' lives, which again, it's so fascinating. I mean, to think that, we are out every day and we do try and track and find these animals, but we don't see everything that happens and everything that they get up to. See that golden sunlight again, just hitting him on the top of his head. Oh, Paula, you asking what is the normal leopard body temperature? Oh, Paula, to be honest, I wonder, I'm not sure. What is ours? Dave, do you know? Aren't we like 20, 26, 28 degrees Celsius? I don't know. I meant to know this from first aid and I've forgotten. Maybe we're about 32, but I wonder if a leopard is about the same. So, if we're about 32 degrees, I wouldn't be surprised if they're a little bit warmer. I think, covered in fur, so potentially a lot warmer than we would be, if you think of it logically. So, maybe 30, high 30s, 38 to 40, somewhere around there, perhaps. And that might be an average temperature. Perhaps some of you can have a look and see if you can find that out. And I wonder, it obviously varies with predators or different animals. But maybe somewhere around there. I doubt they overheat too much. Oh, Laura Moore, you say that cats, and I'm assuming you mean the domestic cats, are generally a few degrees warmer than human beings, a few degrees Fahrenheit. So, okay, yeah. So if you, I suppose a leopard, a big cat, would probably be a bit more than a house cat, I suppose. I don't know. Interesting question. I wonder if our flare, the thermal camera will give us a reading of temperature, a more accurate temperature. Darby, what do you think? It's giving us a reading of around 22 degrees Celsius. But then again, that would be his external temperature and not internal temperature. So I'm assuming that, the internal body temperature would be a bit warmer. So that's 22, and we are about 32 internally. So yeah, maybe a leopard is warmer than that, but it looks like he's about 22 internally. Externally, I mean. I think we might just spend a few more minutes with the leopard. I'm not too sure what everyone else is doing, but let's go find out from Bushwalk how they're doing, if they're helping James, and what the situation is.
He definitely come. James hasn't seen us at all. And now we've got them facing the drone, and so we can sneak up on them from behind. So come, quickly. No, we just gotta wait one hydrating. Still doesn't know we're here. Okay, he's finished. James. We didn't get that close, unfortunately, everybody. We just got close enough. We would have been a lot closer if James hadn't taken the time to make sure that that patch of grass was a bit more hydrated. Anyway, we're going to carry on with some serious business of bushwalk now, and we've had enough playing around. Back to work and all the rest. Let's carry on. It's amazing how close you can get, to be honest. Which is quite nice. Now, obviously, there's no leopard here or hyena. It looked like just a bunch of impala, but it doesn't mean that they haven't been here, to be honest. Tina, you'd like to know if... look at this Nyala right here. Excuse me. Tina, I'll answer your question right now. So there's a Nyala in the bush just here. It's possibly what James was having a look at. They're very difficult from the air to actually identify these things. We've got a whole herd of Nyala right here. Now, Tina, you want to know if something does sneak up on us while we're on bushwalk? It is possible to have... for leopard to keep you in view while you're busy moving from one area to another. And I've got a story to tell you about lions in the Lubombo Mountains. Now, the Lubombo Mountains lie east of here. They form the eastern boundary of the Kruger National Park between Mozambique and South Africa. And for many, many years, we're talking about generations, 30 years or so, Mozambique was in a bad civil war, and Mozambicans used to come across to South Africa to escape the civil war. But to do so, they had to cross the Kruger National Park. And the lions in the Lubombos learned how to hunt people. And I started in the Kruger National Park at the tail end of when people were not coming across the boundary as often as they were, but while lions were still used to eating people. And quite often when you used to bump into lions on foot, the lions used to run away and then keep a distance, just a distance. And as you're walking, the lions used to follow you. And they used to follow you because they've learned over generations that people on foot will camp at night time. And it's when they're camping at night time that their chance to hunt these people came about. And so it was a chilling experience when you'd walk through the bush and you'd stop to talk about something. And when you look up, there was a lioness watching you through the bush. And she'd do nothing. And then you'd walk away, and when you stop again, this lioness would come padding up to you again. It was absolutely chilling. Even now, just speaking about it gives me the goosebumps. And so, yes, it is possible to answer your question, about lions sneaking up on people, but it's a learned behavior, and it's with specific prides in specific areas. And so, I don't think that we're in any danger here of being snuck upon. Other things that have snuck up upon me have been elephant. If you bump into a particularly aggressive bull, one that's in must, and he has really taken a dislike to you, you can have this bull trail you, and he can actually quest for your scent and then come up a trail at you. So you've got to be very careful when you are moving away from a bull elephant that's in must, that they don't circle around to get scent of you and then come and impose themselves on you. But talking about someone that's just imposed himself on another, my friend James, he was wanting to catch up with you just around the corner.
On whom have I imposed myself? Let's have a look at these Nyalas. Bushwalk is obviously not far from us. I didn't hear them coming. I just happened to turn around at that stage, and there they were. I obviously felt their presence there. So they were being very stealthy indeed. I think the wind probably helped them slightly. and my mind was way off somewhere else, trying to figure out what on earth we had seen from the drone. By the time we got to the impala, those three things that made them move away, and this is the herd of impala, mixed herd of impala and Nyala, they had, I think we probably made a bit too much noise going in and they disappeared. I think Sebastian's call that they were hyena is a good one. You saw the way the Impala and Nyala did not run away, but they moved away every time those three things got close. So it indicated that they weren't sort of afraid too much. If they'd been dogs, they would have run. If they'd been leopard, they would have shouted and made a big noise. And, well, a pack of 3 leopard would be extremely unusual, I suppose. So I think probably hyenas that disappeared into the valley of the Umluamati. Anyway, we're going to keep driving around here, see if we don't come up with anything that may have made the original Impala alarm call. You know, this drone is particularly effective at picking up hot spots, but I think as soon as something hides under a tree, it becomes impossible. Obviously, the drone can't see it. And leopards will very seldom, especially in a wind like this, lie out in the open. Anyway, Gemma, you do need a special license to fly a drone in the night time. You don't need a special license to fly a drone with a thermal camera on it. You just need a license to fly a drone, and then you need a special license to fly it at night. Which is why I don't fly it, you see. I don't have a license. I would also crash it. They're not cheap pieces of equipment, and so you don't want to be sort of training somebody with a vague interest in remote control aerobatics to fly one of these things. That will result in a very expensive mistake. I imagine the number of very expensive mistakes that have been made by drone owners must be quite substantial. I hate to think of the incredible amounts of money lying in, sitting in trees or lying in warehouses, bottoms of oceans, but basically mangled pieces of equipment that cannot be used. I'm going to have a quick look here on, yes, all knotted in people's heads. Kirsten got one knotted in her head at Christmas time. Yes. But I mean, that's a very odd thing to happen, really, one must admit. It's particularly strange. Well, we'll just have a little look at the pans up here. She has claimed that she's so photogenic that the drone was just drawn towards her. Of course, it's ridiculous. We'll let her believe it. Just going to check around the corner here once, and then we'll pop down the way. Oh, some of you confused. You think the drone's still up in the air. No, this is it here. This is Thelma. She is back on the car. We just had a quick look over this block. We didn't come up with anything leopardish, or leopard-like, or, yes, leopardish. So I think they're probably sleeping under a bush somewhere. Such is life. Going to look once more on this termite mound. Pretty sure it's the same termite mound. But if I do see spots on it, well, it is almost certainly the same termite mound, with a slightly different angle. So blustery. Ooh. 1 second. Something moving in here. It's not the crunch of bones, is it? Sebastian? There's something in here. Let's have a quick look. It's a very faint sound. It wouldn't surprise me that you didn't hear it. It's not far in. It could easily be just a francolin. No, I think stay with us, Emma. If there is anything, it's right here. It could easily also just be wind blowing one stick against another stick. But maybe, just maybe, it is a leopard eating a leg of a steenbok or some such. As Emma says, at least if we don't find it, we have the beautiful termite mound to fall back on. We spot a leopard in here from the very vague sound of a bone being crunched. I shall be deeply impressed with myself, to the point of actually taking credit for finding it. Trish, we are not Thelma and Louise. I refuse to countenance being called Louise because the drone is called Thelma. I don't think that Sebastian would appreciate being called Louise either. Do you, Sebastian? Do you want to be called Louise? No? Interestingly, however, though, the person who did come up with the name is Louise. So I think she must remain the Louise of the Thelma and Louise team. Perhaps it's prescient and she should be flying the drone. No, whatever it was, is not what I thought it was, and so disappointment now reigns high in my heart. What an adventure we've had onto the road there. Ow, that really hurt. Slapped in the face by a bush. There's no leopard under that bush there, is there? No. I think let's go back to the one person who... Oh, are we going to Byron or we're not? Are we staying here? Okay, we can link now. Alright, let's go back to Byron, find out what he's doing with his cat.
Thank you very much, Louise. Oh, that is brilliant. Thelma and Louise, that is wonderful news. We have left Tingana now. There were a few other people that wanted to get in and try and get a view of him while there's still a bit of light. So we've left Tingana. He hadn't moved. He's still up in the tree. We may try again a little bit later, possibly with some of our nocturnal equipment. But I'm going to head down towards the dam. Just check around Chitwa Dam and see if there's anything making its way down to drink, or if there are animals sunning themselves like a hippo or crocodiles. But it really is chilly this afternoon. I can't believe it. It's very, very cold. Ravinda, when you say why aren't there any gazelles in the reserve, so we do have many species of antelope which are very similar to gazelles, but the subspecies of antelope, the gazelle, we do not have any in southern Africa. So the Thompson's gazelle, which you're probably used to seeing up in the Maasai Mara in East Africa, there are plenty of those up there, but we do not have them down here. They don't occur down here. So that's the only reason there are no gazelle, but there are plenty of antelope, which basically are in the same family, very closely related. Let's have a look around here. Lots of hippo again. That's beautiful. Actually, lovely light on the dam at the moment. I'm going to turn slightly. How is that? It is really bitterly cold at the moment. Very, very beautiful in front of Chitwa Camp. scanning around. Even the hippos look a bit chilly. They do indeed. Oh, I'm a bit chilly. So I'm just thinking now, with the hippos being in the water, that's also a good sign that it's potentially really cold out of the water. So that's why the hippos stay in the water. It's most likely a little bit warmer there. And the reason I say that is because there's a cold wind blowing. So if this hippo were basking in the sun trying to warm up, this cold wind would not help at all. So they'll stay in the water. Christy, you asked what is my favorite animal sound. You know, it's going to sound a bit cliched, but a lion roar. There's just something about a lion roar in the bush, and if you're fortunate enough to get it very close to you, it is just phenomenal. It really is phenomenal. We were very, very lucky. I was on safari 3 weeks ago? I can't believe it's 3 weeks already. 3 weeks ago with one of the viewers, and I hope she's watching. And we've managed to find one of the Birmingham males, and we got to sit with them. I can't remember. I think it was Tino. I can't remember. Anyway, we sat with one of these big male lions, and they roared for us. Or he roared for us, rather, and it was unbelievable. We were really close, out in the open, perfect afternoon sun, and that is definitely one of my favorite sounds. Emma says that sound always reminds her of the Lion King. Yeah, we grew up watching the Lion King. Well, I did watch it a few times. It's one of those classic movies. I think every kid grows up watching the Lion King, which is wonderful. Very peaceful here. There's some swallows calling, flying around at the moment. There's some red-billed buffalo weavers. And you can just hear the hippos in the water. Some drongos. Oh, there's a bit of a half a yawn from a hippo, nothing. Oh, those are the swallows, Dave. I can't see. They look like interesting sound. I'm going to actually try to find out what they are. I caught a glimpse of one because I know. So a lot of the swallows have actually migrated already, but there are still a few around that don't migrate. And that looked quite big. I wonder if that wasn't. I'm going to play the call because that might help us. I'm going to play the call of the mosque swallow. It's exactly what it is, the mosque swallow. Oh, I love it when I get it right. It makes me so happy. It makes me think I still know what I'm doing. I did not learn this from James. I taught myself this one. Something I didn't learn from James, but a lot I did learn from him. But don't tell him. So this is the beautiful mosque swallow. Now we don't often see them around, but they are lovely, and I could hear them calling. See that very prominent fork in the tail at the back, bit of brownish coloration, and then I'll play the call for you once more so you can just hear what I was listening to. And it's quite a large swallow too. Do you hear that sound? Oh, the fish eagle's flying in. Let's have a look. Oh, well done, Dave. possibly, is it going to land or just come past? Oh, there they go. Oh, wonderful. That is beautiful, Dave. Well done. The fish eagle flying off into the sunset. Ah, that was nice. See, like I said, just coming down to the dam, get a view of some birds. You never know what the hippo might get up to. Something might come down and drink. But it is really cold here because of the water. There's a grey go-away bird just flew up into the tree. But because of the water, and it's very open here, the wind coming off the water is extremely chilly. Sounds like Steph is also appreciating the sunset. So let's head back to the man on foot and find out how it's going.
We absolutely are appreciating the sunset. It is so beautiful. And although a little bit twiggy from our point of view, we are really looking at that cloud of the silver lining, and that is really the beauty of this particular one. But we're also enjoying a story. You know, as we're walking through the bush looking for things to talk about, obviously stories come up about experiences had in the bush, and this termite mound in particular carries a nice story. Right here, Steve and Herbie got charged by one of the evoker males. So they were standing here, where I'm standing now, and the male lion was lying at the base of this tree here, and that is, I'll pace it out for you. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 steps, so 8 yards away from where they were standing. The grass was still relatively high, and they didn't see that that male lion was lying flat on the ground. And they came walking here, and when they got to where we're standing right now, the male lion stood up and wanted to charge them. And Herbie carries a firearm just for this particular instance. And he said he was almost ready to deploy, and he said, hang on, wait, this lion in his mind is still deciding what's happening. And they slowly backed away. So the biggest thing when you're being charged by a lion is to try and create distance if they allow it. So the trick is to go, hey, and stop the charge with your hands. So you lift your hands up and you become nice and big, and that usually makes the lion go, whoa, this is something big and dangerous, and immediately to start backing away. So you immediately back away, you look at that lion. If he comes, you go, hey, again, and you stop them. That's the recipe for standing a lion down. And they got to about this point here, where there's a natural barrier. And what you don't want to do is give lions the ability to hide away. Well, you don't want to hide away, you want to be in the open. So they were in the open here, and the male lion decided that he'd walk off, and Herbie just delightfully just regaled us on the fact that when they finally got together here for a chat and a bit of a debrief on what happened, he went home with a nice reminder of what had happened, and he says his pants were a little bit of a darker stain on the side. You know, all done and said. Lion was safe, we were safe, he was safe, and it was just one of those experiences that you have out here from time to time. So it's nice to know that those evoker males have got a little bit of spunk in them, and obviously be careful, absolutely. Now, Len, all the way from Canada, you say you would have melted on the spot. Well, you do melt, you always melt, even though it happens, you know, you can be charged a couple of dozen times over a period of a career, and you melt. It just a little bit less fluid comes out every time, but you still melt, even after all these years. But yeah, that is why termite mounds, we very rarely, if ever, approach a termite mound directly that you haven't walked a circle around, because the actual termite mound acts as a barrier for the sound, and if something's lying on the other side of that termite mound, you can give it a big fright. And because the distance between you and that animal is so close, you instinctively make a decision. You either fight, or it's a fight or flight reflex. And you really want to try and avoid putting animals into a position where they feel that they need to fight. And that takes many years, and even then, accidents do happen, and people, animals get hurt. In this particular case, which is by far the most common encounter, it's a bit scary, you're a bit shaken up, animal runs away, you get a bit of a fright, you come back, you have a nervous laugh about it, your adrenaline pumps for the next couple of hours, and then you go back and you have a cup of coffee or a beer or whatever the case may be, and you calm things down. But that's why, walk quietly, listen to the bush. When you get to a termite mound, walk around it at least 20 meters. Is the advised distance, and in particular if you're approaching from the shadow side. So in other words, lions quite... Sorry, there was a kudu barking now. So it's one of the things that we listen for out here is alarm calls. Now that was just one, which doesn't mean much, but close to the lodge. So we're going to make our way around back to Gallagher Camp. We're going to see if we can find what was making that noise. Let's have a look at the sunset while we're at it. We can now get out from behind the screen of trees. It'll give us a chance to listen. There we go. Have a look at that sunset. That's beautiful, eh? Silver lining on the cloud. Golden light underneath it. Yeah, definitely kudu calling around about quarantine open area, I would imagine. It's difficult for me to hear because I've got an earpiece. Oh. It's actually coming from where we heard those kudu barking the last time. So where I thought it was coming from that side, because I've got an earpiece in, my 360 hearing is not as good. And so it's actually coming from that way, very close to where we heard the first kudu call. So James is already on his way. He's on the run, and off you go to him to find out his plan.
Yes, now we've got more alarm calls going at Hyena Road, which is exactly where we were. We left the area just to come and sort of have a brief look around. Again. So we're going back, trying desperately with Herbert's help to find the most glorious sunset going on. I'm not going to show it to you just. We're just going to drive up the road here first and see if we can come up with something. Let's zero it down.
It sounds like, unfortunately, Louise is having some issues with gremlins. Hopefully we get it sorted out soon. But we have got a beautiful, beautiful sunset to show you. Look at that. Isn't that spectacular? Blue, blue skies, that golden sunlight kind of drifting behind the clouds. And of course a nice marula in the foreground to create that wonderful silhouette, I suppose, almost a bit of an iconic silhouette. Or a tree, a bare tree in front of the sunset. Could be any tree really, but in this case it's a marula. Very, very peaceful and calming. I think just sitting, enjoying the sunset. This would be a perfect spot for little sundowners, I suppose. Have a snack and something to drink and then continue the drive. Especially with the afternoon we had. I mean, sitting with firstly elephant and then of course that big male leopard, Tingana. It really is special. So it's been a great afternoon. I really have enjoyed it. Wonderful afternoon back. I'm sure all of you are just enjoying this sunset, the African sunset. very beautiful. So I find in situations like this, you don't really have to say much. You can just sit and enjoy it. Watch the sun drop. Lady Macbeth, you say nothing beats African sunset. I agree. Very little beats an African sunset like this. When you know you really are sitting in Africa, in the wilderness areas of Africa, enjoying the sun go down. We probably a few hundred meters from where we left that male leopard. He's not too far. There's probably elephants close by, lions. You never know. Animals are all over. It's always great to have a bit of cloud cover when you do have a sunset, just because it gives, I think, a bit more of a dramatic feel to it, and you get to appreciate the colours a lot more. The silver linings around the clouds, the light bouncing off of the clouds, the rays. There you can actually see the sun rays passing through the clouds there too. You get that, especially now this time of year. In winter, when it is dusty, you can really appreciate the colours. You get a lot more reds and oranges and bright yellows when there's a bit more dust in the atmosphere. I might sit here a few more minutes, but Bushwalk is also enjoying the sunset. Let's go see what Steph thinks about it.
It is definitely a photo moment. So for those of you who like taking photos of sunsets and of beautiful skies, you can pick one now. Jean-Andre will frame it up nicely for you, and you can have a look at this, just this lovely light that's playing up on the sky as the sun throws its shadows forward. And as the rays of the sun sort of get diffused through the top of that cloud, that is really awesome. That is very, very nice. And as Byron was saying, there's a bit of dust in the atmosphere, which does lend those rays some color, but not that much. To be honest, we'll start to see a more red sunset as the season progresses, as the wind picks up the dust and flings it into the atmosphere, and as it dries out more and more, we will get a redder sunset, and eventually you'll be able to look at it without too much damage done. Right now, whenever I blink, I've got about 40 suns in my vision. So it's still a little bit too bright to look at directly for a long time. In fact, it's probably too bright to look at, period, when you've burnt spots onto your retina like I have. But nevertheless, luckily I don't need my closed eyes to look at stuff here in the book in the bush. All right, James has got the drone up and also looking at the sunset. So enjoy.
It is looking at the sunset, as you can see. Sebastian Rombi flying past, a dead tree there. Now, we're back at exactly the same position where Herbert said there were alarm calls, and so we're going to briefly show you the sunset, and then we're going to fly up a little bit, and then we'll flip the camera into its thermal mode, and we'll see if we can't find a bit of a hot spot. It's one of the prettiest coloured sunsets I've seen out here for a very long time. There you can see the landscape. Absolutely gorgeous. That's stunning. The winter low-felt bathed in golden light. Well, Sebastian, why don't you look at this view, maybe?
You want to go somewhere?
No, let's stay on this view and see.
Yeah, there's a
little 360 around and see what we can find.
Here we are.
So there we are. You can see us. You might just see my hand waving gently. Now the trick, there we are. The trick is going to be to see if we can spot some Impala first, perhaps, and then the leopard. That is whatever's making the alarm call every time we leave the area. I suspect quite strongly that Tlalamba is over here on her own, and that's why she's moving a little bit, then she causes great consternation, and then she stops moving. Well, there's nothing actually here. There are no impala in this particular area. Shall we flip to thermal? We'll just do exactly the same circle.
Yeah.
So we've done 360 degrees. We've changed to thermal now.
There's something
And immediately we can see a hot spot.
Do you want me to go?
Let's go and look. Everything looks a lot warmer than we are in reality, I'll tell you that for free. No, Bushwalk's gone home. It can't be Bushwalk.
Giraffe in there?
Maybe. Oh, what is that? Oh, it's antelopes.
On the right, that antelope. I'm just checking.
Yeah.
This one, yeah.
Well, if that thing is a leopard, it's about to kill that antelope.
It's two antelopes.
Yeah. Okay, I think come back this way if you can. You're quite a long way. And basically fly a straight line back towards us. Whoops, sorry about that. So fly south-eastish. Just south. You fly just straight south. That's probably the northern cut line you can see there. Alrighty. Just a little bit of picture break-up because Seb's got to move himself from one side of the car to the other. What is that? That's the antelope there. Alrighty. I don't know what these impala alarm calling out. They will of course be very skittish on a day like this. There's something there. Stop a sec. Go forward a bit. This drone is also fighting with the wind there. And you see those things there? Yeah, bottom right quadrant. Now that one on the right is moving. Go forward a bit. No, it doesn't seem to be there anymore. Yeah. I think that's termite mound. Termite mounds on roller skates says MAS. There's certainly a bit of movement in that respect. Something, those are bushes. What about to the right of that? Up and right? Yeah, there. Also, not much of interest, huh? Yep, just do a little 360 from here. I'm sorry for the little bit of picture break-up. Watch this leopard just step out on the road in front of us. You got something? Sebastian has seen something. I see it in the middle.
There's another one left, top left over there.
Yep. Let's look at the one bottom right first. Ooh, says Sebastian. Now, where is that from us? That looks hopeful. That looks very hopeful.
Sorry.
Where is that from us?
Composed not to me, you know, I think. Someone over there.
Just trying to figure out where it is exactly.
Okay, here we are.
On the map,
And the red is where we are.
the red is us. The red is us.
Where the drone is.
Oh, the drone is.
Yeah.
Okay, well let's drive up Hyena Road. Can we drive, Seb? We'll come back for your helipad.
Yeah.
Come back for it, yeah? Sebastian's left his helipad on the road.
We'll come back for it.
Alrighty, we'll try and get in there and see what's going on. It is a little way away. And so we're just going to come back to my picture, which is a little bit squaff, but don't worry about that. We are obviously operating 2 cameras on 1 vehicle at the moment. Sorry about the squaffness. It does look hopeful, that little thing though, whatever it was. See the drone at the moment. It's quite far away. Now, no, it doesn't seem to be getting any closer, Sebastian. Are you flying away from us? Ah, I see it now.
What?
Yeah, the drone's just up that way. Is that thing moving? The drone's moving. We've got it there. There it is. Is that not it? Now the trick is, of course, to vector yourself in there. That might be it. I'm not sure. Oh well. There, what's that? Well, it's pretty close. That doesn't look like a predator though, does it? Alright, can you see the road now? No. That's a long way off the road. So I'm going to stop here and we're just going to decide whether it's worth an off-road foray or not. Quite a long way from where the apparent alarm calls were. That thing does seem to be very, very static.
Just the first thing we saw.
Emma, are you still there? Are you still with us? Are we on the drone picture or on the me picture? Okay. Don't know what that is. Drone's over there. So I don't think we have the original thing that we saw. Oh, those are 2 things that mustn't be mentioned. Let's keep doing a little swing around. And then I think we should probably fly back to our original spot. Them's grazing grass, I think. Yeah. Be quite something to see something, sort of hot spot explode from a bush and attack another hot spot. And now you're facing north. That's the Buffels Hook cut line. That you can see. Yeah, that's way too far away from where Herbert heard the alarms.
Don't go there, huh?
No. Alright, we'll try and figure out what's going on here. Let's go back across to Steph just before he gets home.
So we're making our way back to the camp, and this massive herd of impala that lives on quarantine and the adjacent areas and down to Vuyatelapan, basically we're moving through them. Now they're fairly relaxed with us because they see us quite often, and these two male impala started fighting with one another, which is uncommon because the rut has passed, but these impala still have a lot of testosterone in them, and of course two evenly matched impala, it's just a matter of time before one of them decides to decide who is the bigger dog in the fight. And they started to have a real fight, and now we're just getting the tail end of that. You can see this is the loser on the right hand side, and you can see how he's being dogged by this one behind him, and all of the other impala in the area, the male impala at least anyway, came to join in. Now you know when it's a serious fight, when other male impala start to join into a fight between two males. So two males will start to wrestle. It starts off with a bit of a wrestle, bit of a joke. I push you, you push me, playground tactics. And then the pushing gets a bit harder, and then the first slap happens, and then you start to wrestle. And in that, as they started, other male impala came to join in. And the reason they do that is because around a fight is the chance for sudden advancement in the hierarchy in the impala herd. So as a dominant male and a dominant male square off, they're both top tier males. As soon as one loses, the other males will come in and start to box the loser. And in so doing, they can then elevate themselves up to perhaps a high-ranking male. And I don't think much happened in this particular case. There was no need for it. But you can see these two impala are still, they're not finished their fight. Let's see what they do. That's the nod. So nod, they nod at each other. That's the same as humans, I suppose, flinging a little bit of verbal abuse at one another. Then it's the posturing. One has just given up. And that's basically the end of impala fighting. So they can actually injure themselves, although their horns have ridges on. They really battle to push past one another because of these ridges. They can, with enough force, really get going. And it's usually as one impala loses, they turn to the side, and it's then that the winner presses home the advantage and will pierce the body cavity or the neck of a male impala, and they can bleed out and die or get an infection and die of septicemia. So it's not uncommon to find dead impala lying around with horn piercings all over them. But usually what happens in actual fact is two male impala fight, a leopard comes and hears that, and then as they run past, she grabs one and sort of ruins the whole game. But Emma, would you just repeat the name of our viewer who asked the question? Excuse me, Puma, I just was busy speaking and I'm out of practice. So basically, Puma, you want to know what the difference is between a horn and an antler. There we go, I'll explain it in a sec. What you're watching there is called stotting, and it's a way an impala or a lot of antelope actually show how fit they are. It's quite a nice thing where they sort of bound and bounce from their back foot to their front foot. Quite a nice thing. So stotting, as opposed to pronking. So the horns, we don't have any antelope species in South Africa or Southern Africa that are antlers, so that get antlers. We only have antelope species that have horns. Horns have a bony core, and the bony core stretches almost all the way to the tip of the horn that has blood flow in it. So that's the main difference between a horn and an antler. An antler grows from a bed, like a toenail does, or a fingernail. So that bed is right close to the skull, and the antlers will grow from that and into the most elaborate shapes and designs. But they don't have a bony core. They're made up of, I think it's keratin. They're made up of solid keratin, like a fingernail. Whereas a horn grows from the inside of the horn out, and there's a bony core with blood flow in it. So hopefully that answered your question there. Let's have a look at these impala. They really are superbly relaxed around us, and it's because we leave with our walks and return from our walks from a single point, and we bypass these impala so often that they don't see any threat to us whatsoever. And we actually forget how amazing these impala are actually. They're really good-looking antelope. It's nice. Some males and the females. The males are now back with the females. And the reason why the males are back with the females is because the rut is over, and all the ladies, well, hopefully most of the ladies have got baby impala growing inside of them, and we will see the fruits of all these males' efforts in November. October to December is when the first impala lambs start to drop, and they all drop simultaneously, and it's because they were all mated with simultaneously. And the reason for that is that impala flood the market, so to say, with babies, so that predators will obviously take a lot, but because there's just an overwhelming abundance of babies, most of them actually survive into adulthood. And impala are the most numerous antelope in the Kruger National Park because of that. So, very good strategy. Talking about some other animal that enjoys impala, why don't we go and have a look at Tingana?
Yep, we are back with Tingana, and he has not moved. He has not moved at all. Still very happy up in the tree. It appears as though that hyena we saw earlier has moved off. Don't see it anymore. Possibly just lying somewhere nearby, waiting for a few scraps to fall out of the tree. But the leopard has not moved. He's still resting high up in the tree. He seems very happy up there. It's quite, again, very interesting because, like I said, you know, even if this leopard came down and lay at the base of the tree on the ground, the hyena wouldn't bother him. He'd be fine there. But maybe he really is just comfortable up there, enjoying a bit of the breeze. Or maybe he was trying to get the last bit of sunlight for the day. So up in the tree. Tina, you say one happy fat cat. Yeah, he's got a full belly. So he is really happy and close to water. It's a perfect spot for this leopard, actually. It's been a very peaceful afternoon, I think. You know, we was taking slow drives through the area, and fortunately the elephant first up, then got to see Tingana up in the tree. He hasn't moved around the dam a little bit. It's been cold, but I don't think it affects the animals too much. They obviously know how to deal with the temperature, and I mean, from what we've seen, they all seem really happy. Now, I'm assuming what will happen in this situation is Tingana will feed on that carcass until it is finished. And once he has done that, he will then potentially move on. But usually leopards, as we know, they'll feed on the carcass until it is finished. There's very little left, and then they'll move on, unless they get chased off a kill by other predators. But this one, especially with Tingana, this being a big male leopard, it's highly unlikely any animal will come and steal this from him. And even a lion, I don't think, would be able to get up into that tree. So it is a really good spot for him. Perhaps, I don't know if a lioness was really brave. Problem is, they're much heavier than that leopard, and those branches don't look like they would hold the weight of a big lion. You never know, but they're not as agile. It's very difficult for them to climb. So I think he's got a perfect spot there, and he'll finish that kill. Would you like to? Yeah. I think we're going to try switch to infrared quickly. So let's just, I think if we may, Emma's just going to flick a few switches for us, and then we can try infrared and view Tingana. We're starting to lose the light now. Alright, there we go. It's actually a nice effect, because there is still a fair amount of light around, so it just gives it this beautiful black and white coloration. Is that right, Dave?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not getting it wrong. You're not seeing other colors that I'm not. It's actually good to see Dave again. I must be honest, I haven't seen Dave for a while. So nice to be driving around with David. David said it's much better driving around with me than with James, so that's really wonderful. Thank you, Dave. I'll be sure to pass on the message to James. Minamu, do leopards smell bad because of their high protein diet? Well, leopard dung certainly does smell bad. All predator dung smells really bad. The leopards themselves, and to be honest, I've never got close enough to smell a leopard. But look, I don't think they clean smelling, put it that way. But also, you need to remember is these predators roll around in dirt, they roll around in dung occasionally to mark their scent, or mask their scent rather, and mark territory, mark scent, rub up against bushes. So I think, I think Minamu, I think if you did get close to one and you did smell a leopard, it'd probably be quite a strong smell, but not as bad as wild dog or hyena. Those predators really do not smell good. Wild dog especially, they've got a very thick, how can I explain it, like a musky scent to them when they run. You can smell it if you just drive behind them, you can smell it. Yes, exactly. Emma was saying perhaps like a wet dog smell. Exactly like a wet dog smell. Amy, have I ever seen a giraffe get surprised by a sleeping leopard in a tree? No, I haven't. You know, giraffe, their eyesight is very, very good, and they're very, very aware and alert. So they'd probably see a leopard up in the tree before they went and looking to feed on the leaves. I've never seen it. I don't know if anyone else has. I have seen a leopard lying in a tree and watching antelope walk under the tree, or right under the branch of the leopard, but it was waterbuck. It was too big for the leopard to actually try and pounce and make a kill. But I have seen footage of leopards jumping out of trees for Impala before, and some other smaller antelope. So that can happen, where those antelope obviously don't know the leopard's up in the tree, they don't see them. But with a giraffe, very different, they'd see them. It's gone very, very quiet now. Hardly any birds. Just a faint breeze through the leaves at the moment. A few birds calling in the distance. Christy, what's the longest time I've seen a leopard on a kill? Think about 3 days, 3 to 4 days, Christy. I remember once a male leopard managed to kill a big Nyalas bull, and that basically kept that leopard going for 3 days, almost 4 days. I think if it's a small female and she comes across a big carcass, probably try and scavenge it. If she can get into a tree, she can keep it or hide it at least. And then don't forget, leopards don't always hoist their kills. They also hide them in thick scrub and in the bush. So if they're able to hide it, they can feed for a lot longer. But yeah, I'd say 3, maybe 4 days the most. The longest time I've seen a leopard on a single kill. Well, I'm going to sit a little bit longer with this beautiful male and just see if he does start feeding before the end of the show. But let's go across to Louise and find out if he's got Thelma out or what his plans are.
Yes, we've got Thelma out. I don't know if you're looking at Thelma's picture or my picture because Emma won't tell me. I don't know. Are you looking at Louise's picture or Thelma's picture? Oh, at us. Fantastic. Okay, well, let's go to the drone. You can see us now driving along a road. And we've decided we're just going to do one more flight. We'll keep it in the air. We have failed to find anything that made the Impalas upset. Unfortunately, we did our very best, I promise. We did find some elephants and we found a giraffe on our last flight. But elephants and giraffes generally look better when you put a nice camera on them as opposed to the thermal camera. And so you can see how hot the car is as we drive along. So we're going down towards the valley of the Great Umalawamati drainage. And Bushwalk has headed home, so if you do see people, they are not Bushwalk. Now in front of us we've got some Nyalas. Can you see the Nyalas? You can see them with the picture on the drone. Which is quite fun. Yes, thank you, Emma. I think they are Nyalas, I think that's right. Yes, there they are. You can just see them in the picture there. Shall we switch to the infrared on the other one? So we're going to switch to infrared now. Sebastian, like I say, is operating 2 cameras at the same time. One of them is a flying camera as well, so it's not like he has an easy job. Here we have the Nyalas walking past in the last of this day's light. Tomorrow, of course, is Friday, and so they'll probably be very excited about the coming weekend. I know the Nyala here are huge fans of the Football World Cup. I am, of course, talking nonsense. They don't know the Football World Cup's on, if you thought I was being serious. They're actually much more interested in Wimbledon tennis. Right. Well, that was a great sighting, Sebastian, in black and white infrared. Well done. Okay, you can put the camera back on me. Lock it off. We'll start the car and we'll carry on. Karen, horns or the outside of horns, the sheath on horns, is made of something called keratin, which is the same as your nails basically, and very little will eat that. Ooh, we've got something on the right. I'm going with scrub hare. Too big for a scrub hare. I can see it's a Steinbock. It's a Steinbocki. That's that little thing on the right. We're going to leave that. Karen, keratin is very difficult to digest. Very few things will eat it. One of the most common things that does eat keratin is a keratophagous moth. Keratophagous just means keratin eating, and they will settle and lay their eggs on horns of dead antelope and buffalo, and then they make their casks, or they make a cask of basically their waste product from eating the keratin, and then they hatch from that. So they are the only organisms that I know of that seek out keratin in order to eat it, an untapped food source, until of course they manage to evolve into keratophagous moths. So quite a lot of keratin available out here if you can eat it, but very few things can, of course. Something over there. Where is there? Yes, now I've got it in the frame, I just don't know where it is in relation to me.
To our left.
To our left. I think that's an antelope. Would you agree? Sebastian, do you agree that that's an antelope? No? Not yet.
I want to see it moving.
Well, it's interesting. There's the riverbed you can see.
Is it moving? I can put up here.
Everybody, if you would like to guess what that is, you must feel free to tell us what you think it is. Jennifer, while we establish whether that is in fact a honey badger or not, and I seriously doubt that it is, you want to know if they are the same family as wolverines? I don't think so. Very few of the animals found in... well, is it wolverine a mustelid? It could well be, actually. It could well be part of the family Mustelidae. I'm not sure. Sebastian, that thing is not a predator. What do you think?
I think it's again a Steinbocki or
Yeah.
Diker. Doesn't have a tail, eh?
It doesn't have a tail, no. Certainly not a long one.
No.
I think that's an antelope. We're going to leave that one. It's not too far behind us. There we go. And a bit more lighting as we go through the darkness. There you can see us crossing the valley of the Great Mlomati. Does she speak? I think she does. And now we'll go up and have a look around Chelapan, which is some of the last remaining water other than in the big dams at the moment. No, I did not copy anything. What did she say? Yes, lots of animals coming to the right. Pretty sure there's going to be impalas. They are impalas. Yes, I can hear you now, Emma. It was my fault. I had turned you down by mistake instead of turning down the Game Drive channel. Don't take it personally. Nothing by it. Hi, guys. Emma says she's very offended. So those are all impala. Now, it's important that you and I and Sebastian learn the look of those animals, both from the drone. So there you can see proof on the infrared that they are in fact impalas. And if you look again, when we go back to the drone, you'll be able to see that they don't actually have you can't see a tail when they move. But the first leopard, in fact the only leopard we managed to find, you could very obviously see a tail. It's quite fun. Now, very clearly our little computer that's operating the drone is not functioning properly because it says that this is 800 meters away, which is half a mile. But in actual fact, oh, from where we took off, I see. She's on infrared at the moment, I think. Yeah, so a nice herd of Impala walking around there. I think let's carry on driving. We'll head down towards the little pan up ahead. Ali, the drone will only frighten animals if we get very low down, and at the moment you can see, if you look at the bottom left hand side of the screen, you'll see that it is 75 meters up. Now that is about 200 feet. So really, you know, they notice it. Some of the animals look up vaguely and then just look down. They won't even be able to see it, it's so high. So no, not at this height. If you bring it down, absolutely, it'll terrify the wits out of them. It makes a big noise when it's low down. Very nice. Okay, we're nearly at the pan. We'll just have a quick look there. Alrighty, you can see our picture there. We'll probably land and then have a normal night drive from here. Let's go back across to Tingana and Baron.
Yep, well, it sounds like you're having fun there, James, with that drone. We are still sitting with Tingana. He has not moved. The hyena, however, actually I can just see some movement behind the tree. I don't know if you can see, you know, just to the exactly where you are. There we go. There is the hyena. It moved up and around. It's a bit dark and I'm quite low. I couldn't see it earlier, but it did give off some calls. Not quite a full what is the moaning sound of a hyena called again? I've had a complete blank. What do you call it? A whooping sound. Sheesh, can you believe it? Just a week out of the bush and I've had a complete blank. Oh, whooping. Oh, no. Kirsty and Jen in Final Control are trying to take credit for that, but I got it just before they told me. So thankfully I don't have to thank them when I get back, because otherwise I will never hear the end of it, I suppose. So the hyena was whooping earlier, but not a full whoop. It was kind of half a call. Almost like a bit of a contact call. Still waiting for any pieces to fall, but I don't think so. I don't think this hyena is going to be lucky tonight. Now, Tingana is still resting up in the tree. It doesn't look like he's going to move anytime soon. I think what we're going to do, we've only got a few minutes left, about 10 minutes left of the show. Why don't we take the spotlight, drive around and see what else we can find. We've had wonderful views of him today. It's been really special sitting with him. So I think we'll leave him, give him some peace and quiet, and let's go and see what else we can find, shall we? And I hope he has a nice meal a little bit later. Oh, Danella, now you've asked how many cubs Tingana has fathered. Oh dear. No, I'm not too sure, Danella, because no, I haven't been in this area that long. I'm just trying to think. It's a pity. It's a pity Tristan isn't around. He definitely knows and has spent a lot of time up in this northern Sabi Sands, and I think he knows a lot better. Maybe James knows, Daniela. I'm not sure. I mean, I think off the top of my head, I can think maybe at least 5 or 6. I think, Daniela, but I'm not sure. So maybe James can answer that, or chat to you about it and probably name most of them. Yeah, I think James will think about it. I mean, who've we got? There's obviously, I think Hosanna and Shogile, I think are his offspring. Then there was Tundi's cub, I think is offspring of Tingana. Who else? No, we have to. I don't know. No, I think like at least 5 or 6. Oh, okay. No, James says at least 9 that he can think of, but he says a lot of them are dead. So there are only a few. So maybe I'm only remembering the ones that are alive now. But perhaps some of our viewers can let us know if they can remember other cubs. Yeah, so maybe don't forget to send us your answers. #SafariLive via Twitter. If you know or can think of, those of you who have been watching for quite a long time, how many cubs Tingana has fathered. No, I'm not too sure. I haven't been around here long enough. Now we're gonna, wow, look, just, I don't know if you can see, are we able to, can we just show that color quickly of the sky? I think, shall we try to go back to color quickly? Let's just have a look here. Yeah, we can go back to color, please, Emma, if you don't mind. Just want to show you this beautiful. Just look at that amazing, and the hippo calling in the distance at the dam. It's just a beautiful glow in the or on the horizon at the moment. That sunset still disappearing. It is beautiful, beautiful colors. So as I was saying, we there you get a nice idea of it. Just that beautiful kind of light across the sky there. Wonderful. So as I was saying, we're heading back towards Djuma now, and we'll get the spotlights out and see what else we can find. I think perhaps we can go back to infrared, please, Emma. There we go. Now, I'm sure it's got to be my turn to find a honey badger, because I think Steph had honey badgers yesterday, and James. Was it both yesterday, Dave? That's not fair. That really is not fair. So, I actually popped up to the Tambuti last week, just after Safari Live. I was there for the week, and a number of people were having honey badger sightings. It's obviously got something to do with the temperature. I think, again, like most nocturnal animals, when it does start getting colder at night, a lot of them get active earlier in the evening when it's not as cold yet. So possibly just this time of year, also with it being a bit drier, maybe harder to find food, so the honey badgers are potentially looking a little bit longer. That's what I think. There's a giraffe. Let me just add a little bit of light there. There we go. You can see the giraffe disappearing through there. I'll let the giraffe move on. It really is going to be a chilly morning. Oh dear. Please don't tell James I stalled the vehicle. I blame the vehicle though, it's windy I think. It's been a bit temperamental of late. Alright, well it sounds like James is back on the vehicle. He was getting the drone sorted out. Let's go back to actually Thelma and Louise and find out what he's doing.
That joke is now old, Byron. That joke is very old. We're no longer going to tell it, okay? You must come up with new jokes every time. You can't use the same joke every time. It becomes old and boring. Now, we are on our way home. Thelma performed technically okay today. She failed to find a leopard though. And, well, I'm beginning to think that the tracking skills of Herbert certainly are more effective in daylight hours at any rate. Unfortunately, the wind also blew very strongly today, which I think probably made Herbert's ears... that is a good joke. I think Herbert's ears were slightly less accurate than normal because of the wind. Byron says the joke that he's telling about or making about Thelma and Louise incessantly is not as old as I am. So that was quite sharp. Not very sharp, quite sharp. Byron loves to have a little bit of joke like that. And of course, yes, as Emma says, it's very important to have a bit of humour on a cold evening like this. It is really pretty miserably windy and cold. I'm hoping tomorrow morning will be a little warmer and more pleasant to drive around in. Sure it will. Tomorrow you will be blessed again with Byron and I and Steph. And then tomorrow afternoon a great surprise that I cannot tell you about. A great surprise. There will be 3 people out. One of them will not be Steph though. Who could the other be? You can now start guessing frantically, but I'm not going to tell you until the afternoon, when you will see him or her. I'm an amazing joker, you see. The suspense and jeopardy I've created is going to have everybody sleepless for the next 21 hours until finally the great mystery is revealed. Who could it be? Everybody, as Emma says, is waiting in anticipation. That's quite clever, that. I've never heard that before. I didn't know that was the thing. Patient. Many of us, of course, will not be able to say a word like antissa without eventually, sometime later, saying patient, because we just wouldn't be able to cope. I'm one of those people. Right, we are nearly home. Hopefully there will be a last-minute leopard at the waterhole in front of the dam cam. That would be very exciting if that was to be the case. See one anywhere? Nope. Okay. Remember that tomorrow, same as today, we're going to do our drone tests at 5:30 to 8:30. I suspect it'll be the last morning that we have to... Sorry, not 5:30 to 8:30. 5:30 to 6:30, and then we'll go live with the normal drive from 6:30 to 8:30. I suspect tomorrow morning will be the last morning that we have to do the tests, and we'll probably go back to normal 3-hour safari the day after that, but I'm not really sure. Okay, well, as the dust catches up with me, it is time for me to say good night and I hope you have a wonderful day or evening or morning, wherever you happen to be in the world. Thank you for joining us. Very nice to have Byron back. Thank you for all your questions and your comments. They are, of course, I think, the driving force behind what we do over here. Until tomorrow, I will see you at... What? I'm deeply confused. A little while ago... Oh, right, okay, now we have the credits. Oh, now we've got 10 seconds. Until tomorrow at 6:30, we'll see you then. We may have another 30 seconds, who knows. Now this very slow countdown. Okay, bye.